Ladies and gentlemen, everybody, welcome to Kraken Tribal Members podcast, where we sit down with our members of the community and we just talk about wrestling, we talk about sports, and we have a good time. Our first guest this month is going to be free of charge. He did join the Kraken Tribal membership this past October. He did win the Kane exclusive in your house Funko Pop. Course, if you are interested in joining those and getting the opportunity to be a part of that, you're more than welcome to check that out. The link will be in the description. Of course, and also hit that like, smash the subscribe button so you can be notified on all new updates from the Kraken community. And with that being said, without further ado, let's bring in Free of Charge self. Free of Charge, welcome. Hope you've had a fantastic Thursday. So, how's it been the past couple of days for you?
Thank you, Kraken. Appreciate being here. Past couple days been all right. Just been hanging out, watching some, making sure Monday had my fantasy football team win. Because I've been on a terrible losing streak. But as you know,
Yeah, it hasn't been looking good for a lot of people, from what I understand. Injury bug has been absolutely destroying teams. But no, I think a lot of people are going to bounce back at the end of the season here. And speaking of NFL, we can hop right into questions here for you since you did bring up fantasy football. With your fantasy football team, of course, your favorite team and favorite player, did you pick them? And if not, why? First and foremost, what is your favorite team?
all right. So, start off my favorite team. Kind of had it a little bit out of spite due to my parents, because I'm from Massachusetts and they were always big Patriots fans, and for some reason I just couldn't stand Tom Brady. Like I hate Tom Brady with a passion. Even still now, I hate him. Even when he went to the Bucks, I hate him with a passion. But so I guess out of spite for them, their biggest rival was always the Colts. So I was like, cool, I'll become a Colts fan. And just from then, Peyton Manning, passing it to Marvin Harrison, handing off to Reggie Wayne. They were just always such a good team in my eyes and always gave the Patriots so much competition that I just stuck with them.
I understand. Yeah, a lot of people, even being from the area, seems as if they do not like the Patriots or they just don't like Tom Brady. I mean, he's built the legacy for the Patriots. He is who he is and made the name for himself. You did say watching football, with your family growing up. Did y'all have any game day traditions, or do you currently have game day traditions yourself that you have as a ritual to ensure that your team or players that you enjoy watching win?
Well, I can't really say that I do have a ritual. Of course, every once in a while on a Sunday, I'll come down to the house and, just watch some. I'll watch everybody due to the fact of being in the fantasy league. Got to make sure my players that I do have are, you know, doing what they're supposed to do, and I'm not taking big losses due to the fact of, my players just not doing anything, which it seems to have been. That's been me like the past 4 or 5 weeks, just taking L's because my players just aren't putting up the numbers or getting hurt 10 seconds into the game and then not coming back all game.
Yeah,
But as far as traditions go, it always used to be like, you know, I guess some wings and, of course I wasn't old enough to drink beer, but, wings and chips and snacks and, family coming over and everybody just sitting down rooting for their team to win. Of course back then it wasn't really specific players that they cared about because ain't nobody was in fantasy.
yeah, I know. Growing up, my household, it would be for a certain jersey or for a certain had that lucky outfit that you would go to always give your team that extra boost. So when it comes to stuff like that, I try to still do that around here myself. I make sure that I watch from beginning to end. And then if my team is playing, I know with fantasy football, you watch all the football. Being a Seahawks fan, I try to make sure I watch that as most as I can if they're televised. Of course, being a Seahawks fan on the East Coast, it's kind of hard to keep up with
Yeah.
those games.
Oh yeah, especially being a Colts fan, dude. Like I don't even know what channel you can actually get the whole Colts game on. Like every other game is on, but you really only get to see clips from the Colts game unless like you can specifically find the channel for the Colts playing. Because 9 times out of 10 they're on TV, but like hidden away.
Oh yeah, absolutely. With that, of course, growing up as a Colts fan, you probably got great NFL memorable moments, especially with Peyton Manning being your
Oh yeah.
quarterback for several years. So, growing up and watching football, what was one of the things that stood out to you, or one of those moments that just grabbed your attention and that still resonates with you today?
So definitely one of those moments is gonna be it would probably just have to be a lot of moments where, the Colts are down, and that's like the beginning of every good game, like with the Colts is they have always been a second half team, They might score 3 points in the first half, but I remember this one game, I can't remember exactly which one because it's been a lot of years, but this one game they were down like a good like 20, almost 30 points, and they came back and won it in the and I was like, okay, like I see working some magic here, and I don't know how they worked that magic, but I'll tell you what, it was definitely magic because it was just like the offense and the defense were just on point to the point where, nothing stopped them at all. Anytime they were on offense, that ball was in the end zone. Anytime they were on defense, somebody was getting sacked or tackled or fumbling or something, interceptions, and that was kind of like my big wow moment and proud to be a Colts fan.
Yeah. The No, that's where Peyton made his name for himself. I mean, he did have a good run with the Broncos. He left out with a Super Bowl win, but if you look back at Peyton's career, it was in Colts. A lot of great things he done there, and that's how I feel about Marshawn Lynch. He was a Seahawks. John Alexander, he was out there. There's people in Seattle's history that made Seattle what it was.
Right, right. And see, I don't know too much about Seattle because I was never really one of their fans, but I know that they do have some key big players, as with every team. They had some key players that were just in their time like the best of the best, and like, certain teams would fear certain teams due to one player being on that team.
Yeah. Um, Final football question for you before we jump into the wrestling topics for tonight. The Super Bowl. It's been, ran by the Chiefs AFC for quite some time, and they've won majority of the times they've been there. Patrick Mahomes always finds a way with the weapons around him. Kind of reminds us of what Tom Brady could do. Um, Now, with you being a Colts fan, that kinda is like a thorn in your side for the last several years because y'all went through Andrew Luck, now Anthony Richardson, now you got
Yep.
Flacco out there. What's your predictions on how the Colts will end up? What's your thoughts on who could be in the Super Bowl this coming year?
All right. Well, I'll tell you what, for favorite Super Bowl moment for the Colts, it definitely have to be the Colts versus the Saints in shoot, I think I want to say 43, maybe 53. I can't remember. What are we at right now? 50?
Yeah, what in the
50?
50s?
Yeah, in the 50s. Okay, so it's probably 43, but it was the one where the Colts and the Saints went undefeated all season. They were the only two teams to go undefeated all season, and they both went to the Super Bowl, and then the Colts just bombed it in the Super Bowl. They just completely threw the game. It was probably the most heartbreaking thing I had to see. Um, but yeah, as far as this year's Super Bowl goes, I'm not a big fan of him, but Patrick Mahomes and Kansas City, like they're still undefeated. So, and not to mention they won last year's Super Bowl. I have a good strong feeling they're going to be in this year's Super Bowl, but as far as the other team goes, like I'm not sure, only due to the fact of like a lot of teams have won and lost multiple games. Like, I mean, there's a couple teams that are like high up on the leaderboards too, but I just don't see them as, hitting Super Bowl time. I feel like, there's a couple teams there that are probably going to choke. So like, but now if I had to pick based off of fantasy, I would like to say that um the Bengals are going to be in there because, I would love to see the Bengals go against the Chiefs. Um, Joe Burrow is a sleeper, and like anybody who doesn't see that is definitely got their eyes closed because even if he may not win every game, he's definitely putting up fantasy points. And in addition to that, anybody would have a good bet on him as far as like the sports books and like betting money on him to win the game, or not even win the game but put up so many yards because every week he just delivers. And last season he didn't because he got hurt halfway through the season, and that's what hurt me last season. But uh this season he's kind of just had a couple terrible games, and every other game has been like 1 to 2 point difference. So I would love to see the Bengals and Kansas City go at it this year.
Yeah, that would be nice. To have them to go for the shot, see who can take the AFC, be in Super Bowl. Honestly, in my opinion, you're gonna have a lot of determining factors. Fortunately, for the AFC South, I really think that Texans will have an opportunity. Of course, the Chiefs, the Ravens, and the Bengals. That's gonna be really back and forth. Depends on who wins that second matchup.
Oh
And
yeah.
then coming out of the East, and you're probably I don't really know who you're gonna see. Who would be a big threat at the moment. I think either way,
I I would love to say the Colts, but I don't see it this year. They've been losing too many games, even with Richardson and Flacco. I just don't see them being a big contender. I don't really see anybody in the East really being a big contender. I feel like it's all really going to just come down to playoffs and who
yep,
decides that they want it bad enough.
uh, it's gonna be a toss up. It is every year, and that's what I like about the AFC. It's the toughest side of NFL when it comes to getting to that point.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Especially with, so many teams in like the reconstruction phase, like losing a lot of key players to other teams on the opposite coast, and, just everybody being traded, and, people just not meshing well together yet or trying to find their rhythm. It is going to take a little bit, but I do see some progress the Eastern Coast is making, and being that the games are so close and so, you know, tight against each other, back and forth. I do see um they're gonna be big contestants against the NFC, in the years to come.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Do agree. So to transition here into the second half of the tribal question I have for you, gonna jump into the wrestling. So of course, what what introduced you to wrestling? Say, what was your first, I guess, memory of wrestling? What drew you to the sport? Was there a match? Was there a certain wrestler? An event that you seen happen? What got your eye on wrestling?
So I've never actually been to a live event of any wrestling. However, when I had moved back into my aunt's household, her daughter used to watch, or my cousin, used to watch every Monday Night Raw and every Friday Night SmackDown. And, it was either, she had already claimed the TV, so it was either watch it with her or go in my room and find something for me to do, which, didn't have a ton of stuff to do in there other than play a couple video games here and there. But so I did end up start watching, and one person who really stuck out to me was CM Punk. Him just walking into the ring and sitting down for like an hour and just saying whatever he wanted to say and just not giving a care about what anyone else had to think or say about it. And then even the people that did have something to come say, he still told him off and, continued to do his thing. And then when it was time to put up or shut up, he always put up for the most part. There wasn't many times back in the, CM Punk, John Cena times that he did take many losses, especially being champion, you know.
Uh, CM Punk, he was the voice of the voiceless. That was something he ran on. Spoke on how he felt. And that's what led us into the huge pipe bomb that we had when he sat there at the top of the stage right before he took, I guess, the title and walked out with it after beating John Cena. I mean, he had that I don't care attitude, and this is how it's gonna be. And it worked for a while till it didn't. Of course, we know he left.
Yeah.
He's back now, though. In my opinion, he's still showing he's got that gas tank on him. He can go the long matches. The injury bug has struck him a lot since back, but he's getting back where he should be. And I think this coming year, I think 2025 will be a lot of year for CM Punk. Of course, we're also getting the retirement tour, the official retirement tour of John Cena. Going to be his last true year with us. He's entering the Royal Rumble. There's always possibilities that we can get a relighting of that feud somewhere down the line with Cena's last match, at WrestleMania. I think it's going to be WrestleMania 42 where he actually retires. But of course, that can differ depending on how things go.
Right.
They
And I would also love to see, I mean, being that John Cena's going out on his, retirement tour, I would love to see him and The Rock go at it one more time. Because that's always been a big one. John Cena versus The Rock, and then John Cena
always
versus CM Punk would also be good. Or even the three of them in a triple threat match. That would be one hell of a way to go.
it would. With that, you said basically started watching that during the I think that was more the ruthless aggression, or it might have been the PG era of wrestling. I think it was more PG at that point. So, would that be per se your favorite era of wrestling, or as you look back through the history of wrestling, you got the golden era with Ric Flair, Ricky Steamboat, Macho Man. You got the Attitude Era with Austin, Rock, Triple H, The Ministry, Undertaker, Ruthless Aggression with John Cena when he first showed up, Shelton Benjamin, Brock Lesnar, people like that. Where do you fit in with the eras of wrestling, and what made you think that was the best part of that era?
So, I did like a lot of the PG era, and that also kind of wraps into one of my, other points later in this video, as to like their storytelling was so good back then. Like it made you intrigued to see what was going to happen. Like you never knew when somebody was going to come out or when somebody wasn't going to come out. Like 9 times out of 10, one person's calling on another person, they're going to come out to talk to that person or, get in their face or whatever. But there was this like suspense of like, oh man, is someone random going to come out? Which I just don't feel that they have anymore. But another big time period that I loved, like watching WWE Network, I used to watch the old like the Hell in a Cell DVD where it was like, three different discs of like, six matches on a disc, so you're watching 18 the best Hell in a Cell matches. Um, Probably the Attitude Era. That was a lot of the big names, Triple H, Shawn Michaels, DX, The Rock, Stone Cold, everybody who was anybody just doing what they do was during that time, and their stories were good too, especially with the incorporation of the, I guess, management, like Vince McMahon being a part of stuff, not just sitting on the sidelines collecting his money, his son, his daughter, Triple H being with Stephanie McMahon and becoming, watching that grow, but like them still take a part of it, like the whole point The Rock was even brought to the WWE. Yeah, he had family Rikishi, but he was brought to shut down Steve Austin. You know, Vince McMahon was like, I need somebody that's gonna shut this guy up.
I remember The Rock really grew into people's during that. He started out, no one liked him. The Rocky sucks chance to die, Rocky die. And then he joined
Yeah.
the Nation of Domination. That really helped him. That's where he got his first real title, got the Intercontinental during that point. Then he broke away from the Nation, became The Rock, and he just started saying whatever he wanted to. He would take shots at anybody and everybody, truly. And he
Yeah.
the one big thing I remember, and it's I mean, you could pull it up and watch it, and it's still as funny today as it was then, was him making fun of people. And not when I say making
Oh
fun of
yeah.
people, it's when he was impersonating like Rikishi. I did it for
Ye-
The Rock. And then he
Yeah.
was making, the Undertaker, he would roll his eyes in the back of his head. Best in yeah, stuff like that.
Oh
It was
yeah.
just good times back then. It wasn't uncensored to a complete total just say whatever you want. It was more or less, this is the time we live in. This is what people like to see. Run with
Right.
it. I would have to agree. The Attitude Era was probably one of the top, and then got, so on and so forth. Ruthless Aggression really gave us a new look on wrestling. Then where we're at now is even giving the newer generation of people a little bit of a taste of that. I think that's really going to make a difference come the Netflix era starts in 2025. I think that's. Uh, we
Yeah.
got
Yeah, you're right.
we got just a few more questions for you related to wrestling. We're gonna merge them kind of together here. I think they go hand in hand. So over the year, they bring people in, people get released, and that's just part of the business. There's been people in WWE in there for at least 2 decades, 3 decades. So when you look at those characters, how they've had to change throughout the and how the person themselves had to develop, make sure they stayed relevant to where we're at in the world, what they're trying to do for us outside the ring. Who had, in your opinion, best character development day they showed up, where they're at today?
So, it's unfortunate that he is currently out, indefinitely right now, but I definitely have to say Randy Orton, starting from his debut with Evolution and then, and then turning on him, just dropping him at the, drop of a dime, or sorry, I should say a, power bomb from Batista.
Oh yeah,
To many people not liking him as a solo wrestler, and him having to like build his way to the stage that he stood on many a time and the character he had ultimately become closer to the, hopefully not the end of his career, but being that he has got the injuries that he does, I wouldn't want to see him wrestle anymore so he doesn't continue to hurt himself. But you know it doesn't matter. Stone Cold had his knee ripped out and pretty much ripped out, and he was still back there wrestling. It's a lifestyle for them. But to him becoming the Viper and people starting to love him, and the crazy RKO moments to almost every single person that existed on a WWE roster that he was on. Like you thinking, oh, that's Randy Orton, he's about to get tapped out, and then boom, RKO out of nowhere, like, and people just loving him for that, and then just becoming this beast in the business that like not many wrestlers could really handle. There's a couple of them that could go toe to toe with Randy and come out victorious, but they still took a beating.
oh yeah,
You know,
oh yeah.
he definitely didn't leave anybody that was in his sights unwounded.
Yeah, and with Randy, I mean, he's probably the better example of character development and how you can stay so relevant in WWE or in professional wrestling. Like you said, he came in, he was from OVO, and then went straight into Evolution. Tore his bicep, was sidelined, and still got the opportunity to be part of that group and ran with it. Youngest world champion. Then he broke away from them, and we see what would be called probably one of the biggest heels in WWE, '09 Randy. When he
Yeah.
had when he was running around punting everybody. He was the legend. Took out Foley, took out Flair, took out Hogan. It
Oh yeah.
he was he was just absolutely diabolical at what he was doing. And then he brought together the legacy of Randy Orton, Cody Rhodes, and Ted DiBiase.
Yep.
I mean, he
Yes, he
had
did.
all these people around him, and how many people he helped become professional wrestlers, and what he's done for the company. It is absolutely to see where he's at today. Like you said, he is injured right now. I think he'll probably come back. He probably got a few more matches in him. I don't want to see him go, but like you said, injury bug has been striking him pretty hard here. Hoping things turn out better than having to just call it quit.
Yeah, same here. I mean, at least one more good match from him where he just, something good comes of his career. I mean, they can't just let him go out the way he is right now. Like that would just I mean, unless it was his own choice. I mean, and then I respect that, like I mean, the man's been a legacy, but I guarantee you he'll definitely be in the WWE Hall of Fame come time.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Last final question for you. I think you might have already answered it, but dream matches. If you could see any wrestler from history, starting, doesn't matter promotion, time period, took one individual against another individual, faction versus faction in their prime, who would you want to see and why?
In all honesty, I feel like if the Undertaker was 100%, I would love for him to go against Brock Lesnar to repair his undefeated WrestleMania streak, kind of as like a do-over, like if he beats Brock Lesnar, he that undefeated streak isn't undefeated anymore, like it's still undefeated, you know,
He gets a
um,
win back.
it yeah, if he gets the win back, I feel like that undefeated streak should just go back to where what he was almost up there. He was almost up to what was it, 40? I think it
He
was
he
WrestleMania
was
40.
yeah, someone like that. He was
It would have been his
20-0. And
20 and
then he
0.
went 21
He
and he
went
went 20 and
21,
1
20 and
loss
1.
if I'm
Yep. And I feel like, or I think he was going for 20 and 0, wasn't he?
going for 21.
Or was he was going for 21? I would have loved to see him be able to hit 25. Because I mean, it's not like, but Brock Lesnar again, he is just a uh coming from the UFC, field, he is just a menace. He came in and he snapping everybody's arm that got in his way, F5 and everyone that walked into the ring multiple times, not caring. He was just an explosion of dynamite in that ring. And, you know, even putting The Undertaker, Shawn Michaels out for good long times, like, but I would love to see that, healed up Undertaker, back when he could put some hurt on somebody, go against the, best version of Brock Lesnar, before he took time away and just see what would happen if the Undertaker could actually, stand toe to toe with him, because Undertaker was getting old when Brock Lesnar came to beat his streak, and that was actually a moment nobody really expected was for Brock Lesnar to be the one to come and fight him that day, let alone break the streak.
Yeah, it was very odd. Of course, it was WrestleMania, I do believe 30, and I think he was going to be 20. He was working on being 22-0, and I think he ended up being 21-1, dude. Yeah, I remember watching it at home with my dad, and you would have thought Oh, it was the end of the world. It was just
Yeah,
all
the amount of
silence.
silence that came from
The
that ring.
Looked like if
Yeah.
people had seen a ghost. Childhood hero falls. And it was
It's like they
crazy.
almost seen somebody die in the ring that night, you know? I
Yeah,
I remember watching it too. There wasn't anybody who said anything at all after the end of that match. Nobody was expecting him to lose,
yeah,
and to just watch him fall apart that match, you know, like not really fall apart, get torn apart, I guess,
yeah.
repeatedly by Brock Lesnar, you know, was just so devastating. Even I was like, holy cow. Like, I like Brock Lesnar, but I did not expect that. I mean, he hit him with like six F5s that night.
Yeah,
You know,
it was a different time, I'm gonna be honest. I don't know, it for me, personally, my dream match would be Prime Hardy Boys. When I say that, I mean, like, Matt and Jeff
like
back
you
in the
talking about
early.
like the Dudley time period, you know,
Yeah,
like when they were,
early.
yeah, yeah, back in the Attitude Era Hardy Boys when they were, you know, high flying, you know, just doing what the Hardy Boys do and just not leaving any prisoners.
Yeah, seeing them go against Prime Us, and that's modern day, wanting to. Of course, the older generation would want to see other things happen, but that is how it is. But that would be one of my matches, truly.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not like they couldn't do this stuff, you know, and that brings me back to the whole, you know, if I could see anything from the WWE, like if they were to do anything nowadays, uh I would love to have better storylines. Like I'm not saying their storylines aren't good because, you know, everybody likes what they like, you know, so like don't crucify me guys at the cross here, but you know, my thing is that back in the, you know, CM Punk, John Cena, you know, The Rock, you know, even the Shield, you know, like time period of storylines, like those were like things that I definitely remembered because it was like, you know, these people coming into the ring, you know, the Shield, for example, you know, these people coming out of the stands and just messing up anybody for any reason because they were told to or just wanted to, you know. They didn't care. They'd go mess up both wrestlers in the ring and you wouldn't know which one was going to win, you know. It would just be the first person who could crawl fast enough to the other person and pin him
That's
is
true.
usually the outcome of those matches. But like, I would love to see them fix their storylines and just make it something that interests me, you know, because like I'm not so much interested in the wrestling nowadays, and I lost it kind of like, you know, after most of the main people went out, you know, when like I think it was Randy Orton for the longest time was the WWE champion. Like the stories kind of just died. You know, when somebody holds the belt for too long, I feel like there's not enough story change, you know, and even if they deserve it, I just feel like, you know, Roman Reigns held the belt for so long, and it's just like it got boring. It got boring to me at least. Like I'm somebody that wants to see something crazy happen. And when Roman Reigns was just demolishing everybody, it's not really anything crazy. I mean, we've seen that every night, you know? So like eventually it just got to the point where it bores me, but I'd love to see them crazy entrances from, you know, like for example, you know, I think it was Alberto Del Rio, Sheamus, and what's his name? Who was the other guy? Antonio Cesaro. And they were like, "Oh, you know, we're the best." And then who comes out? You know, Stone Cold and Mick Foley and you know, the Michaels, you know, and just come out and just like, "Oh yeah, you want to see who's the best?" And they just got wrecked, you know? Like that's the kind of stuff I want them to go back to is like, you know, old stuff, better story stuff. Like I feel like when Vince McMahon kind of like took a step back from everything, they lost a lot of their storytelling, you know.
Yeah, and
And unfortunately, that's just kind of lost some viewers, you know, not everybody. I mean, there's still millions of people who watch WWE, but like they lost my attention for a good little while.
I understand too. Uh, And on the other side of that, as someone who's watched it basically early 2000 till today, I can honestly say it has gotten better storytelling now that Vince has stepped back and let Triple H take over.
Mm.
He's still working through a lot of the stuff that Vince had put in place. But either way, I think overall, as a whole, wrestling in general, WWE, AEW, TNA, New Japan Wrestling, we're in a new era of wrestling. It is a lot better than what it just takes time to find what works for you.
Right, right. And I do like how they're doing, kind of like almost like a draft, like for the NFL, but for wrestlers every year, they choose which show they're going to be on, or which show that they're, drafted to and whatnot. I think that's kind of cool. And I do like how they're trying to incorporate AEW, WWE, and or sorry, excuse me, I meant Raw and SmackDown. They're all trying to incorporate that and have people that go against other people from time to time in from different shows, like pulling Jacob Fatu up, to go against Roman and, Jay and all them. But yeah, I definitely do like some of the things that they're doing. There hasn't been like a superstar yet to really catch my attention to make me want to like invest my time back into it. I am glad CM Punk's back, but like, you know, he's also hurt again, and I think his biggest mistake was ever leaving WWE and going to UFC. He went and did his one match in UFC and he got tore up. He got tore up and he should have never ever tried, like just because people from UFC can come and do wrestling doesn't mean that people from wrestling can go off and be crazy UFC fighters. 'Cause those
Yeah,
people are trained for that.
I do understand that. Well, with that being said, free of charge. That's all the questions we got for today. We do appreciate you coming in and being part of the Kraken Tribal Members and also having the time to sit down and talk with us about wrestling and sports. Got anything you want to close out with and any insight on things you're looking forward to at least this week?
As far as this week goes, not much, man. Just trying to make some money, and I do appreciate y'all having me here and hearing what I have to say. And I'm always looking for new video game friends to play video games with. I'm definitely an Xbox gamer at heart, so um, my whether it be my link or my gamer tag is in the bio. You can come search me up, come play some stuff with me. I'm always down to game, or just shoot me a message. I appreciate all of you, and I appreciate y'all having me here.
We do appreciate you hanging out with us tonight. And of course, we will make sure we get you back on here in the coming months as we continue to add to the Kraken tribe. With that being said, everybody, that is free of charge. He is a Kraken tribal member. It is glad to have him with us. Of course, as always, if you want to be a part of this, you're more than welcome to check out the link below. We're also going to have free of charges link below as well. That way you can check out some of his content. Till next time, on a public game, can change the day, can save their life. You're over.